and then get us live on Facebook. Here we go. All right, so we're coming in live. Looks like we're good. Just double check over here. We'll wait for a couple of minutes to get some people on board who may be joining us here. Then we'll get going. We'll also have the recording here for anyone who would like to watch later on. So Phil, so glad that you could join here this morning.
Good to see you, Connie.
Is the sound okay? I had some problems.
Sounds good.
Okay. Karina's in here. Hello, Karina. We were just talking about BNI. So, all right, well, let's kick this off. For those, as you come on and say hello. If you're watching the replay, share that you're here on the replay. I'm very, very happy to have Phil Held as a guest today for this interview. Phil is one of my favorite people in the world. I'll let you share. I'll let him share more about his work and what he does, but Phil has been a huge help to me and to my husband with long-term care insurance, with investments, just an all-around fantastic resource to us when it comes to financial advising in so many different ways, and having other resources as well that I'm sure we'll be taking advantage of. And Phil's just become a good friend over the last year and a half that we've gotten to know him. So I'm really, really happy that you're here, Phil.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So why don't you, if you would, to kick this off, tell the audience here a little bit more about you, your business, your company that you work for. Just give us a little bit of background.
Yeah. Thanks, Connie. Nice to be with everybody. Thanks for signing on. I've been a financial advisor with the McDermott Financial Group for about 15 years now. Our work consists of working with individuals and closely held business owners, and we kind of take them, really provide them with financial security through our planning process. That process might be a comprehensive process that we take them through, or it might just be something where, maybe an individual needs to buy some inexpensive life insurance to protect their family. So, we're kind of geared up to handle, everything, throughout that process that is going to provide some financial security for that individual or business owner.
And Phil, how did you happen to get into this work in the first place? You said it was about 15 years ago.
That's since we have some time, I'll tell you the story. It's kind of funny. Prior to getting in the business, I worked at a nonprofit, and I was trying to finagle a raise with not my boss, my boss's boss. Kind of defied the chain of command, and I just kind of went right to my boss's boss and put a proposal in front of them. And the project I was working on internally, I said, hey, I'm like, if we raise the cost on these projects, can I get $1 raise? And he looked right back at me and he said, Phil, that's a great idea, but this is a nonprofit. You get a step increase every 2 years. And I looked right back at him like, yeah, it's the step increase is insulting. So it was kind of at that point, and something he said to me that I really took to heart. And he looked at me and said, Phil, you're never going to be happy if you make $40,000 a year. He's like, you're only going to be happy if you make 400. And it's not really, I think the lesson I took out of that, it's not the dollar amount that I was focused on. It was really going to a place where it could be my own business, and truly the sky's the limit. You're truly rewarded for the hard work that you put in. So it was shortly after that I started to interview at some different, financial planning firms, and, interviewed with the McDermott Group. And, we're affiliated with Mass Mutual, New York State. We're a career agency operation here in Buffalo. And I just kind of kept showing up for interviews and, got the position, and it's been a blessing ever since. It's been a great business for me and my family since then.
And you truly are your own business owner in this position, being responsible for your own book of business. It really is like having your own business, I imagine.
It is, yeah, and it really is our own business with inside the agency. We have all the tools and resources to do what we want, but it's nice because I don't, we don't answer to anybody. We come and go as we choose. It's from that standpoint, it's the business has been a blessing because I don't miss things with the family. Like if my oldest daughter has an event that I need to be at during the day, I just go. If I need to pick the kids up from school or drop them off, I just do it. I don't have to ask permission. So that the freedoms of the business have been another blessing for us, because we can kind of come and go, and you just get your stuff done when you get it done. You're just kind of on your own schedule. So
Or help with bingo at school. Absolutely. So within your industry, I know from working with a number of people in your industry and knowing people over time, this is a tough industry to break into. And I know there's a lot of turnover in those first few years. And I don't know what the percentage rate is, maybe you do, but I know that probably the majority of people who enter this business do not stick with it after a few years. So I'm just curious from your perspective, what was it that got you through those first few years and led to your initial success and being able to stick with it?
that's a great question, and unfortunately, I think because of the way that the industry is structured, I believe the turnover rate's probably about 90% in the first handful of years. So
Wow.
it can be difficult to make it, but for people, I think it's this industry, but I also think it's other industries as well, where if it's a commission driven business, I feel like other industries probably suffer from the same. Um, some of the things that have gotten me through some of these early years, to be very honest, I think when you start, you have people that kind of doubt you and say, oh, you can't do that. So I was at a training early on, and I have gotten some advice from somewhere. I forget what it was. I don't know who gave it to us, but they said, if put a list together of some people that don't think you'll be successful in the business, and write their names down. And so the individual, I have an individual's name on my list 3 times, and I won't share that person's name because it's somebody very close to me. But I wrote that person's name down 3 times, and you know what? I just I wouldn't give that person the satisfaction of saying, you know what? I told you you couldn't do it. So 15 years later, it's just, I still look to that list. I really do. I think as business owners, we have good days, we have great days, and we also have bad days. So I think in those bad days, it's important to kind of refocus and keep driving yourself, because at the end of the day, it's you're doing it for yourself. You're not yourself and your family. You're not doing it for others. You're not building something for somebody else. So yeah, hopefully that's a little behind the scenes on my some things that motivate me. So
Yeah, and I think that's a couple of really important points there. It's so important to know your why behind anything
yeah,
you do. And clearly for you, it's your family
yeah.
and the freedom that develops over time. I'm sure it wasn't there initially, but for you to have that flexibility. And then I love that being driven by the doubters.
Oh yeah.
That can be really effective for some people, maybe not for everyone, but for some people, boy, a willingness to prove yourself and to say, I'll show you.
Yeah.
There's can be
And,
some definite satisfaction there.
and as far as like keys for success, I think it's for really any business. It's funny when you start these businesses, it's kind of like a perfect storm. Nobody trusts you, nobody will work with you, and you just got to kind of figure out a way to get through it. One of the ways that I've been successful, I've been fortunate to have a great partner. Used to be a senior partner, now I just call him my partner. So that mentorship and that joint work that I was able to take advantage of was great, because that kind of took out the that kind of satisfied the, well, you don't know what you're talking about, and I don't know if you're going to be around to with clients that we would meet with. So that was nice to kind of have that expertise alongside with me to help clients and prospects early on. And then at the same time, I've learned a tremendous amount from that person and other people in the industry. So I feel like having mentorship is critically important. And then the next piece is education. The more that you can educate yourself on whatever your business you're in, the better off you're going to be. I do a lot of education and networking stuff inside of the business. I sit on a New York State board that I run. The purpose of our association is advocacy in Albany, and then education for our members. And then I'm also part of other groups. I'm just looking at a list that I have down here. There's probably 3 other industry groups I'm a part of that I utilize in some way, shape, or form to get that education. And honestly, it's networking with peers, not just here in Buffalo, but nationally, to network with them and to get ideas and different things like that. So I would say that those are other things that if you do those types of things, you can have some success in the business.
Absolutely. It's interesting. I saw a post that somebody had put up. It was a survey about professional development, and it showed the different countries and the percentage of people within the country that are really focused on professional development, and it amazed me. Now, I don't recall the source of this survey, but it was among something like 15,000 adults, and in the U.S. it said only 7% invest in some kind of professional development, whether it be classes or through a mentor, however that might be. And I thought, wow, that really blows me away. However, I think if they had only surveyed entrepreneurs, solo business owners, sales professionals like yourself, hopefully, at least for the successful ones, that number would be much higher.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I just think that the professional development is critical, especially at my stage of the business. I'm working on some designations so I can just going to kind of continue to grow my practice. So, and that stuff's it's been very enjoyable too. I just had an exam yesterday for a course that I was working through, and so that was good to get that behind me. So.
Oh yeah, the tests that you all are go through to keep moving forward, they are rigorous, that's for sure. I'm glad that you also mentioned the importance of having a mentor. Thinking about when you first started out, I mean, 15 years ago, you were a youngster, and how many people want to trust their money with somebody who's right out of college? So that really shows how the partnership could really help, and having that mentor to help guide you along the way. And I'm sure now you're providing mentorship to others.
Yeah, it's funny because my partner, he's like, what, this stuff was done for me. So I need to do this for you because it was done for me. And honestly, I feel the same way. We've got some good young guys in our office, and if they need help with something, my door's always open, or hop on a call or whatever it may be, or work a case jointly. I'm happy to do that stuff because that's the stuff that was done for me. And if that's the way I can give back to the industry to I guess to try to decrease that turnover rate, then I'm happy to do that and share some of my expertise with them so they can be successful.
Yeah. So great keys that Phil has presented for us that apply in any business to keep in mind for success: the education, the mentorship, the stick-to-itiveness. All of those are great pieces of advice. And I see Jennifer, thanks for popping on and saying hello. Anybody else who's coming in, please feel free to pop in the comments, say you're here. If you're watching the replay, just let us know that you're here. So Phil, we've talked about the success side of things. What about, you must have had some challenges along the way. Are there any in particular that really stand out for you, that where you kind of thought, I don't know if I can handle this or not, or that, just were so tough, it really sticks in your mind for being a tough challenge?
Yeah, that's a great question, because honestly, there's been numerous things throughout the years that have been a part of that, but I can't really pinpoint one thing. I think the one reason that had some success is I told myself from day one that I would never, ever consider quitting. And it was never, that thought has never, ever come through my mind. It was never about quitting. It was about, if you hit a roadblock, it's like, all right, how are we going to figure this out? How are we going to get around it? How are we going to, so I feel like that's the one thing that has kind of gotten me through these years. Cause trust me, it's, you know, sometimes I tell people about this industry or even starting a business in general. It's like, I don't wish what you're about to do on my worst enemy. It can be really tough. But I just think that as long as you figure out a way to get through it and never consider giving up, then you'll have success. But as soon as you start to have doubt, and as soon as you think about leaving, you know what, you're already gone, and you should just leave at that point in time, because you're not coming back from that. You've already kind of taken your foot off the gas, and it's probably best that you move on and go do something else. So yeah, I would say that there hasn't, because trust me, there's probably been a lot of events that I've just mentally blocked out throughout the years. But you figure out a way to get through it, and just never consider giving up. And I think if you have that mentality, you'll be successful to get around those challenges.
Absolutely. And Karina just popped on and said the only way to fail is to quit.
Yeah.
Really good point. And Colleen O'Connor is here with us as well. And I know Colleen can relate to a lot of this, being Colleen's our Medicare expert and Medicare insurance in here. Said hello. Great to see you, Phil. Yeah, you all, and anyone here who's developing their own business, I think, can really relate to that. Something that came to mind while you were talking about success and consistency that I was thinking about was, I know that you also, I just messed something up here on the camera. There we go. In terms of consistency, I know you work with an activity tracking system where you have certain activities, you give yourself a certain number of points. You've had that within your business. I know you've been doing it for years. And you keep it up week to week so that you meet a certain number of points a week. It seems like that's been pretty helpful as well for keeping you on track. Would you say, like, as a tool?
Yeah. I think it just comes back to goals, like whatever your goal is. If you look at it over a 12-month period of time, it's like that goal it's like, well, how do you achieve it? Whether it's most people, it's a revenue goal. So I think that you need to be able to back into that. And I've got I have mine. I was talking about it this morning with somebody else I was just with. I know exactly what I need to generate to get to that goal, down to the individual case. And that's not something it's something I've worked on over time, and it's something that does fluctuate. It's just kind of an average of some numbers and activity. But I think that stuff is critically important for whatever business you're in. What goals do you want to hit? You have to have those metrics in place. Because I think once those are in place, then okay, I've got to talk to a certain amount of people to hit these metrics. And that way, and I actually break my stuff down on a monthly basis. Tracking revenue on a monthly basis. For me, it's just a little bit easier to get my arms around. And I even to this, the first 5 months of the year have been great. June's a little behind, but I've got some stuff in place to make sure that June's on track. But it's just a little bit easier to wrap your arms around if you check. For me, if I track things on a month-to-month basis, as opposed to looking at this large number that I need to do by the end of the year. Well, that doesn't really mean much. You got to break it down into steps so you can get there.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that reminds me, when we first met, we're talking about Nick Murray has a book called Game of Numbers.
Yep.
And how it just what you described, backing into that goal, breaking that down, and then getting a handle on the activity that just naturally leads to those numbers. I think that's been a great resource and reflective of what you just said.
Yeah.
Now, you and I, we've been working together for quite some time here. And I just wanted to ask you, what was it that appealed to you about working with, because I know Mass Mutual, your business, there are internal coaches. What was it that appealed to you to working with somebody outside of your business as a coach that?
Yeah. So Connie and I started working together last February. So call it 15, 16 months ago. I was at a point in my business where I knew in order to get to the next level, I needed help from others. Um, and I think the one thing about me is I have no problem in admitting that. I just know that to get to these higher levels, you got to rely on people that have already been there, whether that be a coach or a mentor. I think it's important to get to those levels. You just got to learn from these people. So Connie and I engaged, and honestly, it's been one of the best things ever. I mean, even throughout COVID last year, I had the best year that my business has ever seen. And it was, I think a lot of it was, I think the biggest value that I get out of working with Connie is the accountability. I need the accountability. That is critical for me. I know we have our next session later this week on Friday, and I'll be damned if I go to that meeting without having everything done. And every once in a while there might be something that slips through the cracks, but like for me, it's critical. So I make sure I go to these meetings, I'm prepared, and whatever I said I was going to do at our last meeting, I make sure that it's done for the most part. I'm not perfect, but so for me that's critical. But by doing those things, by staying accountable and doing the tasks that I'd set out, it's helping me drive my business. So that's been great. And yeah, no, that's just been, I hope that's a good explanation. It's just I know there's a lot in there. There's a lot that Connie and I do and talk about, but I think at the end, the big takeaway for me is the accountability, and it's just allowing me to get stuff done. So it's been a blessing.
And another really important point, no matter how someone goes about this as a business owner, sales professional, is to have that accountability, right? I mean, I have a coach too. I just, there's something about somebody else that you're checking in with, and who can provide maybe an objective viewpoint as well. Because so I know every once in a while, like, it wasn't too long ago, because you're a very obviously very driven person. You work very hard. And in that case, I was trying to get you to back down on the list of things to do and relax a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's a good thing to keep in mind. And I also wondered, as you know, right now, every quarter I do a group program that bring together a small group of people, under 10
Mhm.
people, to help work on their quarterly plan. Because again, coming back to what you mentioned, it's so helpful to have things broken down into smaller chunks.
Mhm.
And I love to work in 3-month quarterly chunks. So I help this group develop their plan. And I know you attended the one for the last quarter. And I'm curious if you would just share for the audience here what your experience was in that, and how that may have been beneficial for you.
Yeah, no, honestly, the quarterly session was great. I think everybody on the call can relate that we get going pretty fast in our day-to-day lives, whether it be with business, personal. And I know I feel like this often, where it's almost like, and no pun intended, but you feel a little scattered. Um, and sometimes some things get away from you. But the one thing that I took out of that quarterly planning session was, it was just like, let's take a step back. Let's just kind of summarize some things that have gone on in the past. Maybe you're circling some things back in that you forgot about, and just almost like maybe hitting the reset button and getting refocused, I think is probably the best way to describe it. And that stuff is important for me because and I think that's why I see so much value in working with you, Connie, is, I need that because I get going pretty fast, and I can get scattered pretty easily. And, between our coaching sessions and, that quarterly meeting, it's kind of a way for me to reset and kind of get my arms around things again. Um, so yeah, that's been very beneficial for me to help kind of keep me on track.
Good, good. And it's helpful to me to hear the perspective so I can continue to provide the services as best I can in that way. All right. So getting back to your work now, coming
Yeah.
forward for this kind of, we're hitting almost the half year mark. So for the end of the year, is there anything in particular that you're really excited about in your work or really looking forward to happening?
Um, I'll share one success that I had. I started to write. I always say I was told early on to write your goals down, and I'd written one of my goals from a couple years ago was to we wanted to move and get a new house, and because we've got a bunch of kids at home, and unfortunately we outgrew the house that we're in currently. So because it's myself and my wife Michelle and my oldest daughter Chloe, who's 12, and our other three little ones. Holly's 4, Timmy will be 3 in July, and little Charlie's 6 months. So we are officially out of room at the current house. And I just remember, I forget who I wrote the goal down with. It was a couple years ago. I told the person, I'm like, we want to get a new house for the family, and we're moving into that house at the end of July. And it's great. It's a huge accomplishment for Michelle and I to do that, to provide these kids with a beautiful home, and because it'll be I guess you can say, a forever home. So that's been a huge win for our family. And I think it's a product of all the hard work that's gone in over the past couple of years of trying to obtain that. So as far as other things that I'm working on for the year, um, I'm doing a lot of. I mentioned that I took a test yesterday, so I'm working towards a industry designation. It's called, well, a couple of them actually. The first one I'm working towards is called CLU. It's a Chartered Life Underwriter. I guess you can say it's probably the equivalent of a master's degree in the life insurance industry. There's eight total courses. I would equate them to college level courses. So I just finished class number 2 yesterday. And I'll probably get at least 2 to 3 more classes done this year. So that'll be to get that done. That'll be a huge win for me. So
Yeah, absolutely. So as you were talking about both of those, I was thinking that visioning and creating that vision for your future is so important. So a couple of years ago, you had that vision, and not just work related. It wasn't just a work goal. It wasn't just that you wanted to reach a certain level within your business or your company, which I know was also a factor, but that vision of having that home,
yeah,
and now to be in that position where you've achieved that dream, that goal, that's just got to be so fulfilling.
yeah,
um
yeah,
yeah, yeah. And another thing that you mentioned about writing it down, I am such a huge believer in that. I mean, I'll write things down ad nauseum. I'll type it up, I'll write it down, but
yeah,
there really is something to that. And there's a book out there called Write It Down, Make It Happen, that really made a strong impression on me several years ago. So for anyone who wants to explore that more, there's really a lot to that in helping to create or making your vision come to reality. So I'm glad that you shared both of
I
those.
just I just wrote the name of that book down. So
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Jim really enjoyed it too. So anyway, Phil, I so appreciate you being here, sharing some of your experiences. If anyone would like to reach out to you, maybe for just some more perspective or to
yep.
learn more about you and your work, what's the best way for them to reach you?
I would say either text message, a phone, an email. But yeah, if anybody on the call is, and I think really more from like a networking standpoint, if anybody is interested in doing some networking and getting to know each other and to see where it can go, that would be great.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love
So
that. So,
Phil is in this group, so you can private message him that way. Another way, and I'll post your email with the video
sure.
if that's okay, if someone does want to reach out. And one thing before we wrap up, I just wanted to mention again, I've been talking about the next group program that's coming up for the quarterly planning on June 22nd. We have a group for new people to the process, no more than 10 people in the group, where we'll really focus on doing an assessment of how the first half of 2021 has gone, and then figuring out a very targeted focus plan for you and your business to achieve those goals over the third quarter and toward the end of the year, so you can really end 2021 on a strong note. So that's going on right now. The early bird pricing on that ends at the end of the day today. So I'll post a link in the comments if anyone would like to jump into the group. One thing that I love about that group is that people join in to help each other in there. So it's not just, it's you working on your business, it's me helping by facilitating that, and then people coming together to support each other, which is really another great benefit of that. So just wanted to let people know about that. And Phil, thank you again. I know you are so busy, and I know you must have a lot to catch up on after having that exam yesterday. So can't tell you how much I appreciate your time today.
No, and kind of this is great. Thanks for having me. And like I said, if anybody wants to connect or to further talk about anything, I'm happy to do that. And to those that signed on, thanks a lot. I hope it was beneficial for you.
I'm sure it was wonderful.
Okay.
Phil, if you could just stick on just a minute here.
Sure.
All right, I just ended the live stream. So again, thank you. I appreciate you talking about the coaching and your perspective on that. That was so helpful. And I think you just brought up so many points that are helpful to people to think about. Sometimes we're just, people need reminders. So this was just great.
No, and I mean it sincerely. It's like one of those, things get going pretty quickly. And like, even like myself right now, like I feel a little scattered right now, but it's like,